Tonight, on this July 4th, we're following two major breaking headlines. President Trump signing his historic mega bill into law, and the deadly flash flood catastrophe with at least 20 missing from an all-girls summer camp in Texas. 13 people killed, homes swept away after the rising Guadalupe River blasted through Texas hill country in the dark of night.
We're praying for all of those missing to be found alive.
The river rising nearly 30 feet in about an hour. Helicopters, look at that, filling the skies, finding 200 people stranded. The muddy aftermath showing just how quickly the water rose and fell. Our team's on the ground with warnings of another wave on the way as more rain falls. Plus, President Trump making his signature bill law, what it means for taxes and tips, and why millions are left uncertain about the future of their health care. A night of terror in Ukraine, the heaviest strikes since the war began, and our exclusive reporting why the U.S. is withholding key weapons as Russia rains down drones and missiles. The biggest wildfire of the season, sparking evacuations as fire crews get to work in the West. The explosive start to Independence Day, fireworks going up in flames at homes across the country, and the devastating discovery at a giant fireworks warehouse. A small-town celebration as they open the world's biggest time capsule 50 years later, finding nostalgia and some surprises.
This is NBC Nightly News with Tom Yamas.
Good evening. I'm Hallie Jackson in for Tom tonight, and we are coming on the air with a nightmare unfolding in Texas. 13 people killed, according to officials, after catastrophic flash flooding overwhelmed the Guadalupe River. The water smashing through parts of hill country and the summer camps along the river's banks, with more than 20 unaccounted for tonight at an all-girls camp. Some parents now facing an agonizing wait for answers. You can see here just the magnitude of this, with the river rising nearly 3 stories in about an hour. That's very rare. The water sweeping away houses and cars. And we've been watching as hundreds of first responders have been plucking people up to safety, like you see there. Now there's concern downstream with more rain in the forecast. We have team coverage tonight, starting with our Ryan Chandler on the ground.
Hallie, this is one of the banks that exploded overnight, leading to this deadly tragedy. The sheriff here says they fear that the number of dead will only rise as the search for survivors continues. All afternoon, we've seen helicopters surveying the area, drones and dive teams also deployed to try and find anyone who may still be alive.
In central Texas tonight, a catastrophic flood emergency. At least 13 people are dead, according to authorities, including children. And at least 20 kids are missing from a summer camp after a sudden surge along the Guadalupe River, north of San Antonio.
It's going to be a mass casualty event.
Authorities saying 14 helicopters are in the air. One rescuer dangling from a chopper, appearing to help someone up in a tree as flooding rages below. Cars lifting off the ground, swept away by the powerful waters. These steps leading to a house that's no longer there.
This is our house right here.
Another pushed down the road.
The water started to rise very rapidly. Rapidly.
Along the river, a series of summer camps. The La Junta camp for boys posting that everyone is safe, but some girls at Camp Mystic trapped.
Now there are 20-some that aren't accounted for. We're praying for all of those missing to be found alive.
You can feel the anxiety here as parents are waiting to hear word about their child. We're told that these children are being transported by helicopter, the only way out of the camp, as parents wait to hear they've returned safely.
The county judge pressed on why the camps weren't evacuated.
We knew there was going to be a problem. Why weren't these camps evacuated?
I can't answer that. I don't know.
These camps were in harm's way. We knew this flood was coming.
We didn't know this flood was coming. Rest assured, no one knew this kind of flood was coming.
The tight-knit Texas towns across Kerr County are popular recreation areas. Len Clendenin and Rory Higgins were camping, asleep in their cabin when the water started rushing in.
Everything happened so terribly fast. There was mobile homes, travel trailers, cabins, vehicles, people in the water. It was devastating.
They took this video showing a building from the campground washing away. Their beloved border collie Ripper is still missing. Flood threats were in place overnight. Because drenching rain flooded the riverhead, massive amounts of water got pushed downstream. At one point today, National Weather Service data showing the water rising nearly 30 feet in 1 hour. This region near the Guadalupe River is no stranger to floods. And in 1987, rapidly rising water killed 10 people.
Buses stalled out and the water was it was real deep, so we were going to try to get out and get to the road. It wasn't too far back, and it started washing people away.
Today's storm means one area park that normally looks like this is instead underwater. It was set to host 4th of July fireworks tonight. What was supposed to be a holiday celebration is now a nightmare.
This came at night when people were asleep in bed. Please pray for our community.
Ryan is joining us now from Kerrville. And Ryan, you can't help but think of some of these parents whose kids were at that camp and who still don't know what has happened.
Hallie, I was in the room when they announced that the first group of girls returned safely. We saw some tears, some relief, and many parents who rushed in here from all across the state this morning who are still waiting for answers. Hallie.
Ryan Chandler, thank you. Let's bring in meteorologist Bill Cairns. And Bill, help us understand, how did this get so bad so fast?
So unusual, Hallie, to have a river that's at 3 feet deep go to 32 feet in 1 hour. That's like a tsunami. That's like a dam break. That's almost like a storm surge from a hurricane. But this was in the Texas Hill Country. We had about 3 months of rain in one evening. Some areas were 14 inches, 17 inches, but widespread 8 to 12 inches of rainfall in the hills that all collects in the streams and rivers, and then it all flowed into the Guadalupe River. And we're expecting that crest to head into Canyon Lake tomorrow morning. They said it's going to hold. Engineers say the dam is safe, so that's good. But we do have additional heavy rain coming, Hallie. This time tonight, a little bit east of this area, about another 3 to 4 inches.
Lots of people thinking of those folks in Texas tonight. Bill, thank you. Here in Washington, President Trump celebrating what he sees as a political victory tonight, signing into law a sweeping bill that moves his agenda forward, even as some critics fear the consequences for Americans who are already struggling financially. Kelly O'Donnell is at the White House.
Merging patriotism and politics at the White House tonight.
Happy 4th of July.
The 4th of July festivities serving as a backdrop for President Trump to showcase his actions.
The one big, beautiful bill.
With a flourish and a Sharpie, he signed into law the massive bill that sweeps up his biggest policy objectives, supported by only Republicans. That includes tax cuts, funding border security, while making cuts to safety net programs like Medicaid and food assistance.
It's really promises made, promises kept.
Adding to the stagecraft, a salute in the sky to the June military operation that delivered strikes on Iran's nuclear program. The president said pilots and mechanics from that mission and their families are invited to this celebration. The president started what the administration considers a victory lap in Iowa last night.
Just as I promised, we're making the Trump tax cuts permanent and delivering no tax on tips, no tax on overtime.
There are restrictions. Under the new law, workers who qualify can deduct up to $25,000 in tips from their taxable income. Susanna Castillo waits tables at Butcher Bar in New York and says this will help her save and spend on her family.
It's going to be amazing. It's going to be a big positive.
However, the new law is a new rallying cry for Democrats.
The largest cut to Medicaid in American history.
Who will argue to voters that Republicans chose to boost the rich while cutting food assistance and health care for millions. Heather Payne lives in Georgia and says she did not qualify for Medicaid after a series of strokes because she could not meet state work requirements, like those that will be implemented nationwide.
I think it is immoral and unethical to deny people medical care so that they can sicken and die. That's the way I feel about it.
Kelly O'Donnell is joining us now from the North Lawn. And Kelly, even as the president makes all of this the law of the land, his vice president today is not ruling out possible changes down the road, right?
That is right. The vice president was asked about cuts to government programs people like. And Vance said he expects the law could undergo further changes in a couple of years as the impact is more fully understood. Now, that is notable because Vice President Vance was so involved in selling the legislation to fellow Republicans. Hallie?
Kelly O'Donnell, thank you. A wildfire spreading out of control in California has grown into the biggest fire in that state this year. Morgan Chesky reports on a fire season suddenly taking off.
In Southern California, wind-whipped flames carving a brutal path. The Madre fire exploding over the past 24 hours, scorching a massive area 2 hours north of Los Angeles. Air tankers doing their best to corral the flames that have now burned more than 70,000 acres. Crews working 24/7. This water drop saving at least one home amid ongoing evacuations.
What really fueled this fire spread over the last day or so?
The type of vegetation, the terrain that you're looking at, and when it's steep, those drainages go up like a candle. They heat both sides of the hill. It's going to run up a hill rather quickly.
Across the country, 90 large fires are burning, 31 of them uncontained. The majority of them are in the western United States, and this holiday, more than 7,300 firefighters and support personnel are battling the fires. In Alaska, red flag conditions prompting evacuation orders near Fairbanks, where 2 large fires are burning at 0% containment. While in Utah, the Forsyth fire is nearly contained after scorching more than 13,000 acres.
And tonight, back here in California, as the Madre fire now becomes the largest statewide so far this year, its cause remains unknown and under investigation. Hallie?
Morgan Chesky, thank you. Now to that huge attack on Ukraine's capital, being described as the biggest airstrikes there since Russia's invasion 3 years ago, all with American military support for Ukraine in limbo. Raf Sanchez reports.
This is the sound of diplomacy going nowhere. Kyiv rocked by what Ukraine says is the largest Russian aerial assault of the entire war. 550 drones and missiles pounding the capital. Families spending the night huddled in bomb shelters. The attack began just after President Trump spoke to Vladimir Putin yesterday, but said he'd made no progress towards a ceasefire.
I'm very disappointed with the conversation I had today with President Putin, because I don't think he's there.
The Kremlin responding that it would achieve its war aims, either by diplomacy or force. Today, the president speaking with Volodymyr Zelensky, who said they'd agreed to work together to strengthen Ukraine's air defenses. But no public mention from him of the U.S. pausing some weapons shipments to Ukraine, including Patriot interceptor missiles needed to fend off Russian strikes. The Pentagon says it's prioritizing America's own military stockpiles. But 3 U.S. officials tell NBC News senior military officers found the aid to Ukraine would not jeopardize ammunition supplies for U.S. troops. While Kyiv residents survey the damage, it felt like something was flying in every minute, this woman says, and brace for more attacks to come. Raf Sanchez, NBC News.
To Iran now, and our team getting an extraordinary look inside that country, including the notorious prison that housed political prisoners hit by Israeli airstrikes before a ceasefire was announced. Our Richard Engel takes us to Tehran.
In Tehran's Grand Mosque today, the preacher denounced the United States and Israel and called their military strikes against Iran a crime.
The preacher just said President Trump wants Iranians to surrender. And their response is very clear. No, and death to America.
Iran is trying to show strength. But for 12 days, the U.S. and Israel attacked this country relentlessly, targeting much more than its nuclear sites.
And we've just been given this extraordinary access to a place that was completely off limits.
The Evin prison held political prisoners. We were able to see what's left of this notorious jail after Israeli airstrikes destroyed the gates, administrative buildings, and a health clinic.
And there is something of a date stamp to this attack. The guards who are showing us around here who don't want to be filmed on camera say the Israeli strike happened right around noon, right before noon, and that is when this clock stopped at 10 minutes to 12. And you can see on the wall here, there's some blood streaks that clearly look like they were made by somebody's hand.
Iranian officials say nearly 80 people were killed here, including civilians. For Iranians, this latest war has revived tensions with the U.S. that go back decades.
And here in the center of Tehran is the former U.S. embassy where American diplomats were held hostage, and the walls are covered with anti-American murals and propaganda.
But inside the old U.S. embassy compound, there's now a cafe.
Thank you very much.
Where you can order an Americano.
Things, when you're in a country, are often very different than they appear from the outside. Yes, the U.S. and Iran have major problems, but people to people. On an individual level, you don't feel the hatred. At the end of the day, people are just people.
Iranians tell us they'll fight back if attacked again, but don't want another war. Richard Engel, NBC News, Tehran.
When we return in 60 seconds, as fireworks displays begin, the misfires and disasters getting the holiday weekend off to a dangerous start. Next. For so many folks, the 4th of July means holiday fireworks, of course. But as Camila Bernal reports, some celebrations have already been marked by deadly accidents coast to coast.
Heartbreak deepens after days of anguish. Authorities tonight confirming human remains have been found at the site of that massive explosion just outside of Sacramento. The victims not yet identified.
I wanted to see their clothes or anything that I know I will recognize it and said this was my son.
According to county officials, the company, Devastating Pyrotechnics, did not have a permit to store fireworks. The company did not respond to NBC News' request for comment. It's just one of several chaotic incidents involving fireworks around the country. In Nevada, officials say several people were hurt after fireworks were accidentally detonated on a mountain. In California's San Fernando Valley, a man killed in a fire caused by fireworks, according to authorities. And another deadly explosion in Ventura County.
The house fully shook, everything was moving, my TV was moving.
To prevent these types of incidents, the Riverside Police Department deploying drones to detect illegal fireworks.
It means we can respond to incidents faster and allocate our resources more effectively.
Back in Esparto, families begging for closure.
My chest is heavy. It's so heavy.
Camila Bernal, NBC News, Esparto, California.
We are back in a moment with the massive explosion leaving dozens of people, including firefighters, hurt. Back now with a dangerous explosion at a gas station in Rome. You can see the flames and the smoke. Look at that, as Italian officials say at least 45 people were hurt, including a dozen police officers and 6 firefighters. It's not clear what caused the explosion. Also tonight, LL Cool J announcing he will not perform at a big 4th of July concert in Philadelphia because of a union strike. The rapper posting online he doesn't want to cross a picket line after sanitation workers went on strike earlier this week, with trash piling up in Philly since then. When we come back, a 4th of July moment 50 years in the making. We'll take you to the small town where mementos big and small are transporting us to the America of 1975. Finally, there is good news tonight about a holiday celebration one Nebraska town has been waiting for 50 years. Maya Eaglin explains.
In America's official July 4th small town.
In small town USA, 4th of July city.
The world's biggest time capsule, according to the World Record Academy. A classic roadside attraction for 50 years.
They found it. I can't believe they found it.
Finally unsealed, revealing a treasure trove of Americana. Half a century ago today, the town came together to freeze a moment in time.
Pet rocks, teal-colored leisure suit, very, very much 1975.
Even an almost perfectly preserved Chevy Vega.
It took 3 days to crack open this 45-ton portal to the past. They even had to use a crane, and then it was a race against time to bring thousands of items up and out.
But it was some of the smaller items that got the biggest response.
This is clearly my mom's handwriting.
Chris Galen reuniting with this note.
I hope you had a good education, a happy, successful life.
That moment is what capsule creator Harold Davidson would have wanted.
I thought my dad was crazy. I think you need to be pushing 45 to understand how fast time goes, how little time you have to make memories with those you love. And that was what he was trying to do.
The thing I'm thinking about as I think about the time capsule is it's not about what's inside of it, it's about what's inside of us and who we were back in '75 and who we are today.
Honoring the past and the present on a day of celebration. Maya Eaglin, NBC News, Seward, Nebraska.
And that is Nightly News for this Friday. Jose will be in tomorrow. I'm Hallie Jackson. For all of us here at NBC, thanks for watching and have a great holiday weekend.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.